The laws, Ecclesiasticus chapter 39, verse 1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. He will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences, and be conversant in dark parables. He shall serve among great men, and appear before princes. He will travel through strange countries, for ye have tried the good and the evil among men.
Not to put oil on the meal offering of wrongdoers, Leviticus 5 and 11. But if he be able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he that sinned shall bring forth his offering, the 10th part of ephah?
Yes, sir.
Of fine flour for a sin offering. He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense thereon, for it is a sin offering.
Not to put frankincense on the meal offerings of wrongdoers. Leviticus chapter 3, verse 11. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar. It is the food of the offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Not to eat the meal offering of the high priest, Leviticus 6 and 16. And the remainder thereof shall Aaron and his sons eat. With unleavened bread shall it be eaten in the holy place. In the court of the tabernacle of the congregation they shall eat it.
Not to eat bake a meal offering as leavened bread. Leviticus chapter 6, verse 10. And the priest shall put on his linen garment, and his linen breeches shall he put upon his flesh, and take up the ashes which the fire hath consumed, with the burnt offering on the altar, and he shall put them beside the altar.
The Kohanim must eat the remains of the meal offering. Leviticus 6 and 9. Command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the law of the burnt offering. It is the burnt offering because of the burning upon the altar all night until the morning. And the fire of the altar shall be burning in it.
To bring all avowed and free will offerings to the temple of the first subsequent festival. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 5. But unto the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all the tribes to put his name there, even unto his habitation shall ye seek, and thither thou shalt come, and thither ye shall bring your burnt offerings, and your sacrifices, and your tithes, and heave offerings of your hand, and your vows, and your free will offerings, and the firstlings of your herds and of your flocks.
Not to withhold payment incurred by any vow. Deuteronomy 23 and 22. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee.
To offer all sacrifices in the temple. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 11. Then there shall be a place which the Lord your God shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Thither shall ye bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and the heave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which ye vow unto the Lord.
To bring all sacrifices from outside Israel into the temple. Deuteronomy 12 and 26. Only thy holy things which thou hast in thy vows, thou shalt take and go into the place which the Lord shall choose.
Not to slaughter sacrifices outside the courtyard. Leviticus chapter 17, verse 4. And bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord. Blood shall be imputed unto that man. He hath shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people.
Not to offer any sacrifice outside the courtyard. Deuteronomy 12:13. Take heed to thyself that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou seest.
To offer 2 lambs every day. Numbers chapter 28, verse 3. And thou shalt say unto them, This is the offering made by fire, which ye shall offer unto the Lord, 2 lambs of the first year, without spot, day by day, for a continual burnt offering.
To light a fire on the altar every day. Leviticus 6:6. He shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, and on with a blemish out of the flock.
A ram.
Oh, I'm sorry. Start that over. Leviticus 6:6. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, a ram without blemish out of the flock, with thy estimation, for a trespass offering unto the priest.
Not to extinguish a fire that was lit for the altar. Leviticus chapter 6, verse 6. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, a ram without blemish, out of the flock, with thy estimation, for a trespass offering unto the priest.
To remove the ashes from the altar every day. Leviticus 6:3. Or have found that which was lost. Is that a lie concerning it? Where was it?
And sweareth falsely.
Sweareth, okay, that's what it is. And sweareth falsely in any of all these that a man doeth, sinning therein.
To burn incense every day. Exodus chapter 30, verse 7. And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning. When he dresseth the lamps, he shall burn incense upon it.
To light the menorah every day. Exodus 27:21. In the tabernacle of the congregation without the veil, which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall order it from evening to morning before the Lord. It shall be a statute forever unto their congregations on the behalf of the children of Israel. I mean, 77.
The Kohen Gadol must bring a meal offering every day. Leviticus chapter 6, verse 13. The fire shall ever be burning upon the altar. It shall never go out.
To bring 2 additional lambs as burnt offerings on Shabbat. Numbers 28:9. And on the Shabbat day, the Sabbath day, and on the Sabbath day, 2 lambs of the first year without spot, and 2 tenth deals of flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, and the drink offering thereof.
To make the showbread, Exodus chapter 25, verse 30. And thou shalt set upon the table showbread before me always.
To bring additional offerings on Rosh Hashanah, the new month. Numbers 28:11. And in the beginning of your month ye shall offer a burnt offering unto the Lord, 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without spot.
To bring additional offerings on Passover. Numbers chapter 28, verse 19. But ye shall offer a sacrifice made by fire for a burnt offering unto the Lord, 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, and 7 lambs of the first year. They shall be unto you without blemish.
To offer the wave offering on the meal of the new week. Leviticus 23:10. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I give unto you and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest.
Each man must count the omer, 7 weeks from the day the new wheat offering was brought. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete.
To bring an additional offering on Shabbat,
Shabbat. Oh,
Shabbat,
mhm.
the Feast of Weeks, Numbers 28 and 26. Also in the day of the first fruits, when ye bring a new meat offering unto the Lord, after your weeks be out, ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work.
To bring 2 loaves to accompany the above sacrifice. Numbers chapter 23, verse 17. And when he came to him, behold, he stood by his burnt offering, and the princes of Moab with him. And Balak said unto him, what hath the Lord spoken?
To bring additional offerings of Rosh Hashanah,
Rosh Hashanah.
Blowing of trumpets, Numbers 29 and 2. And ye shall offer a burnt offering for a sweet savor unto the Lord, 1 young bullock, 1 ram, and 7 lambs on the first year without blemish.
To bring additional offerings on Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. Numbers chapter 29, verse 8. But ye shall offer a burnt offering unto the Lord for a sweet savor, 1 young bullock, 1 ram, and 7 lambs of the first year. They shall be unto you without blemish.
To bring additional offerings on Sukkot, that's the Feast of Tabernacle, Numbers 29 and 13. And ye shall offer a burnt offering, a sacrifice made by fire, on a sweet savor unto the Lord, 13 young bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs of the first year. They shall be without blemish.
To bring additional offerings on Shimni Atzeret, last day of Feast of Tabernacle. Numbers chapter 29, verse 35. On the 8th day ye shall have a solemn assembly. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
Not to eat the sacrifice which have become unfit or blemished. Deuteronomy 14 and 3. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing.
Not to eat from sacrifices offered with improper intentions. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 18. And if any of the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offerings be eaten at all on the 3rd day, it shall not be accepted, neither shall it be imputed unto him that offereth it. It shall be an abomination, and the soul that eateth of it shall bear his iniquity.
Not to leave sacrifice past the time allowed for eating them. Leviticus 22 and 30. On the same day it shall be eaten up. Ye shall leave none of it until the morrow. I am the Lord.
Not to eat from any of the sacrifice which was left past the time allowed. Leviticus 19:8. Therefore, everyone that eateth it shall bear his iniquity, because he hath profaned the hallowed thing of the Lord, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people.
Not to eat the sacrifice which became impure. Leviticus 7 and 17. And the flesh that toucheth any unclean thing shall not be eaten. It shall be burnt with fire. And as for the flesh, all that be clean shall eat thereof.
An impure person must not eat from sacrifices. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 20. But the soul that eateth of the flesh of the sacrifice of peace offerings that pertain unto the Lord, having his uncleanness upon him, even that soul shall be cut off from his people.
To burn the leftover sacrifice. Leviticus 7 and 17. But the remainder of the flesh of the sacrifice on the third day shall be burnt with fire.
To burn all impure sacrifices. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 19. And the flesh that toucheth any unclean thing shall not be eaten. It shall be burnt with fire. And as for the flesh, all that be clean shall eat thereof.
To follow the procedure of Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, in the sequence prescribed in Pharaoh, who's it?
Porshah,
Hoshah,
Achri, Mot.
Achri Mot, after the death of Aaron's sons. Leviticus 16:3. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering.
One who profaned property must repay what he profaned, plus a fifth, and bring a sacrifice. Leviticus chapter 5, verse 16. And he shall make amends for the harm that he hath done in holy thing, and shall add the fifth part thereto, and give it unto the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering, and it shall be forgiven him.
Not to work consecrated animals. Deuteronomy 15:19. All the firstling males that come of thy herd and of thy flock, thou shalt sanctify unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work with the firstlings of thy bullock, nor shear the firstling of the sheep, of thy sheep.
Not to shear the fleece of consecrated animals. Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 19. All the firstling males that come of thy herd and of thy flock, thou shalt sanctify unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work with the firstling of thy bullock, nor shear the firstling of thy sheep.
To slaughter the Paschal sacrifice at the specific time. Exodus 12:6. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
Not to slaughter the Paschal sacrifice while in possession of leaven. Exodus chapter 23, verse 18. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning.
Not to leave the fat of a slaughtered Paschal sacrifice overnight. Exodus 23:18. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning.
To slaughter the second Paschal lamb on the night of the 15th of Iyar, which is the second month, Hebraic month of April, between April and May. Numbers chapter 9, verse 11. The 14th day of the second month at even, they shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs.
To eat the Paschal lamb with unleavened bread and bitter herb on the night of the 14th of Nisan, first Hebraic month, March, or the beginning of April. Exodus 12:18. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
To eat the second Paschal lamb on the night of the 15th of Iyar. Numbers chapter 9, verse 11. The 14th day of the second month at even, they shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs.
Not to eat the Paschal meat, raw or boiled. Exodus 12:9. Eat not of it raw, not sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof.
Not to take the Paschal meat from the confounds of the group. Exodus chapter 12, verse 46. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the house, neither shall he break a bone thereof.
An apostate, a person who forsakes his religion, cause, party, etc., must not eat from the Paschal sacrifice. Exodus 12:43. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof.
All right. And we'll begin with 4:11 next time. Today's lesson. The title of today's class is Constantine's Christianity. Constantine's Christianity. Capital Constantine, apostrophe S. Constantine's Christianity. So a lot of this this study is going to come from a video on YouTube called How Christianity Spread in Rome. Secrets of Christianity 105, Selling Christianity. We'll pull it up in just a second. And so in this video, this 44-minute long video, they are going through, they are asking the question concerning Constantine. Did Constantine truly convert to Christianity, or did he not convert to Christianity? And where was his action really an action to keep the Roman Empire together?
Or appease the Roman Empire.
The people, right. And so that's kind of the major question of this video. So let's pull this video up.
I wasn't stating that was a question when I said ought to appease.
Right. Let's pull this video. No, I do not own the rights to this video that we are viewing. This video is published by Fox TV. This video was published September 24th, 2019. And the main person in the video is Simchi Jacobovici.
into grounds for Roman entertainment. Then, as the story goes, the Roman Emperor Constantine had a vision of the cross, which inspired him to adopt Jesus as his savior. As a result, the West became Christian. But did Constantine really convert to Christianity? Or are modern Christians worshiping a version of Jesus created by a die-hard pagan? This is one of the secrets of Christianity, being pondered by investigative journalist Simka Yakubovich. From deserts to tombs, from Rome to the Holy Land, Simka tracks down the truth behind historical myths, long-held beliefs, and some of the greatest biblical stories ever told.
So it mentions gladiators right away. So let's pull this up real quick if I can see what I got here. So in the time period of the Romans, they were killing Christians. Now, that term Christian was not used by the folks who follow Christ. And we're going to get the text on that, the biblical text on that.
What you're saying, it became a derogatory term?
It's a derogatory term. Okay, so here's this article, the Colosseum, Power, Brilliance, and Brutality, published in 2004, and this is by departments of Washington.edu. So this is what they published, and if you would please read that.
What's this personal observations?
Yes.
The Colosseum has always been a monument surrounded by by mystery and legend. In researching this monument, I find it interesting to be able to corroborate or dispel some of that arrows in a way. Thank you. These legends and see the extent to which they have been exaggerated.
Yeah. Were Christians really fed to lions? Yes. Christians were fed to half-starved lions, burned alive, and hacked to death. The most interesting aspect of this was that the Christians who died in the Colosseum wanted to die there as martyrs. At that time in the Roman Empire, Christians had a choice to sacrifice to the Roman gods or even have one of their slaves sacrifice to the Roman gods to avoid persecution. So this is what they're saying, that they had a choice, but go to Second Maccabees. I didn't write this one down, so bear with me. Second Maccabees chapter 6. Second Maccabees chapter 6, and go to verse 12.
Second Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 12. Now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be a destruction,
Before destruction.
but for a chastening of our nation. For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but for with punishment. For not as with other nations whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins. So dealeth he with us. Lest that being come to the height of sins. I am so followed up. Afterwards, he should take vengeance of us, and therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us.
So the children of Israel, they go through all these calamities, and here the Romans are persecuting. They're persecuting us and killing the children of Israel for keeping the high holy days, keeping the Sabbath days, for not eating profane meat that they should not eat, and so forth. So he says, you know, our Lord, our God, yeah, he will punish us for our transgressions, and he'll come down on us, but this is just to chastise us. But after a while, he's going to have mercy on us. To those other nations, nah, he's going to do them in. Read.
What did I read about that?
15, 16.
Well, I stopped at sin. Okay, I'll go to 16. And therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us. And though he punished with adversity, yet do he never forsake his people.
Read.
But let this that we had spoken be for a warning unto us. And now we'll come to the declaring of the matter in a few words.
Now we're going to come to the declaring of the matter in a few words. We're going to tell you what's going on. We're going to give you an example of, in that time period, this time period of the Maccabees, what this individual did. Read.
18. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh.
So they're going to force this man to eat swine's flesh, which in our laws, in Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7, plainly tells us that we are not to eat pork. Read.
But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the term. So wherein this article says that they rather die as martyrs. No, they understood that the Israelites understood that the torture that the Romans were inflicting meant nothing in comparison to what the Most High was going to do, and in comparison to the promises of the Father. Keep reading. 19. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spitted forth and came of his own accord to the torment, as he behold, as it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things, as are not lawful for love of life to detest, to be tested.
To be tasted.
Be tasted. But they that had the charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king, that in so doing he might deliver from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his great head. Thereon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by God. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave.
So he says, no. He says, my education in the law, no. Because this thing that you're asking me to do is evil as all get out. Read the last passage.
24. Oh, you see, jump down to that.
Verse 24. Verse 24.
Okay. For it become not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being fourscore years old and 10, were now gone to a strange religion.
He says, I am 90 years old, and this act will cause the people to believe that I have walked away from the true religion to a strange religion. Read.
25. And so they, through my hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, should be deceived by me, and I get a stain to my old age, and make it abominable.
And make it abominable. He said, no. Go to Matthew chapter 10, verse 28.
The book of Matthew, chapter 10 and verse 28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
That's who we are supposed to fear. Fear him that is able to kill. Read that again.
28, Matthew 10 and 28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
So you're going to throw me in this gladiator sport. It makes no difference. The lions will get me. It makes no difference. However, I fear the Most High God. Okay. Go to Acts chapter 11 and verse 26. So who were these people that were being thrown in the gladiator games?
All right. The book of Acts, chapter 11 and verse 26. And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch.
So this was a derogatory term. So this term that is used today, Christians, the apostles, they didn't call themselves Christians. They were the church. They were followers of Christ. Okay. All right. So this article reveals that we were thrown in the gladiator games and we were killed for sport. Okay. So let's go back to this video.
Zunga has come to Turkey, to the city of Istanbul. Back in the 4th century AD, Constantine built his new capital here and called it Constantinople. By that point, Constantine had already legalized Christianity, but it's still a matter of controversy whether Constantine himself became a true Christian.
And underneath modern Istanbul, the city that Constantine built, until Constantine, some 300 years after the crucifixion, Christianity was essentially an illegal movement. After Constantine, within a few years, a few decades, it would become the official religion of the Roman Empire, and the reason why so much of the world today is Christian. The question is, who was he? And the religion that he created, is it a religion that Jesus would recognize?
So Constantine had
So let's say from your boss that you have to think.
Constantine had legalized Christianity. And what I liked about this video is that they give us some history as to in terms of putting things in context. So we get facts, but we get facts that is placed within context. Other episodes that are going on. So there's the Edict of Milan. And in the Edict of Milan, let's read this. Okay. So we have these two edicts that are coming back to back. You have the emperor before Constantine, Diocletian, who is killing the quote unquote Christians, throwing them to the lions and so forth. Okay, so here we get this first edict of toleration by Galerius. This edict was given 311 AD. It says, among other arrangements which we are always accustomed to make for the prosperity and welfare of the Republic, Rome, we had desired formerly to bring all things into harmony with the ancient laws and public order of the Romans, and to provide that even the Christians who had left the religion of their fathers should come back to such a folly that they would not obey the institutes of antiquity, which perchance their own ancestors had first established. Well, what the Romans were practicing was never the religion of the Israelites' fathers. What the Romans practiced, as we find out later on, had nothing to do. So they're blurring the line with this kind of language. They're blurring the lines with this kind of language, bringing about confusion. But all their own will and pleasure, they would thus make laws unto themselves, which they should observe, and would collect various peoples in diverse places and congregations. Yeah, because we always had laws, and our laws always were different from everyone else. Go to Psalms. (147), verse 19 and 20.
The book of Psalms, chapter 147 and 19. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel. He had not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
Praise ye the Lord. So, yes, we've always had our customs and our laws that have always been different from everyone else. Okay, back to this article. Finally, when our law had been promulgated to the effect, when our law, speaking of the Romans, had been promulgated to the effect that they should conform to the institutes of antiquity, many were subdued by the fear of danger. Many even suffered death. And yet, since most of them preserved in their determination, and we saw that they neither paid the reverence and all due to the gods, nor worshipped the God of the Christians, in view of our most mild clemency and the constant habit by which we are accustomed to grant indulgence to all, we thought that we ought to grant our most prompt indulgence also to these, so that they may again be Christians and may hold their conventicles, provided they do nothing contrary to good order. But we shall tell the magistrates in other letter what they ought to do. Wherefore, for this our indulgence, they ought to pray to their God for our safety, for that of the republic, and for their own, that the republic may continue uninjured on every side, and that they may be able to live securely in their homes. Now, this contradicts the prayer that Christ himself gave us. Go to Matthew chapter 6. 6 and 8, 6 and 9.
The book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 9. After this manner, therefore pray ye, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name. Read.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
Now, how can we be praying for the Father's kingdom to come if, according to this edict of toleration, in the closing of the edict, we are supposed to pray that the Roman kingdom endures? Because it reads right here, that the republic may continue uninjured on every side. So this goes in opposition to what Christ taught us. So this is impossible. Then, so immediately after the edict of toleration, which was in 311, we get the edict of Milan in 313. And this edict comes from Constantine. It reads, when I, Constantine Augustus, as well as I, Licinius Augustus, fortunately met near Medilanum, which is Milan, and where, considering everything that pertained to the public welfare and security, we thought, among other things, which we saw would be for the good of many, those regulations pertaining to the reverence of the divinity ought certainly to be made first, so that we might grant to the Christians and others full authority to observe that religion which each preferred. So, like today in America, you worship how you want to worship. Worship how you want to worship. We religious tolerance. Okay. Right here. whence any divinity whatsoever in the seat of the heavens may be propitious and kindly disposed to us and all who are placed under our rule, and thus by this wholesome counsel and most upright provision we sought to arrange that no one whatsoever should be denied the opportunity to give his heart to the observance of the Christian religion. So again, it's explaining that, okay, you want to practice Christianity, go right ahead. Go right ahead. But now remember, in the edict from 311, the edict of tolerance, but don't do anything harmful to this great nation of Rome, to the Empire of Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can practice your religion. Go ahead. Go ahead. Y'all want to sing Kumbaya and this, that, and the third, whatever y'all do, go right ahead. Go right ahead. But y'all better not start no mess. Or else. Right? Of that religion, which he should think best for himself, so that the supreme deity to whose worship we freely yield our hearts may show in all things his usual favor and benevolence. Therefore, your worship should know that it has pleased us to remove all conditions whatsoever which were in the rescripts formerly given to you officially concerning the Christians. And now, any one of these who wishes to observe Christian religion may do so freely and openly without molestation. We're not going to harm you. We're not going to, we're going to do away with casting you off into the Colosseum. Heck, many of y'all, bow down your neck to the lion and let the lion kill you free willy anyway. So, yeah, and the people are watching you all just freely give yourselves. We want to take away that bravery from the onlooker, thinking they too will be brave like that. Nah, we need unity for Rome. Otherwise, Rome will implode on itself. There will be division in Rome. We can't have that. So, okay, for the sake of unity, go ahead and worship your Christianity. Do so. Go ahead, but don't bring no harm to Rome. That's always the closing statement. Don't bring no harm to Rome.
Yep, don't shame my name.
So continue with this edict of Milan, because this gets us to a place of understanding Constantine and what was going on, and the Council of Nicaea. So all these things are playing in succession, one to the next. We thought it fit to commend these things most fully to your care, that ye may know that we have given to those Christians free and unrestricted opportunity of religious worship. When you see that this has been granted to them by us, your worship will know that we have also conceded to other religions the right to open and free observance of their worship for the sake of the peace, for the sake of the peace, for the sake of the peace of our times. We keep throwing y'all to the lions. This is creating friction. So we need another course of action. This is psychological warfare, what this is. That's all that this is. Psychological warfare.
So is it that the more they throw people to the line, they're really making mortars of those people?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Here we go right here. That each one may have the free opportunity to worship as he pleases. This regulation is made that we may not seem to detract from any dignity or any religion. Moreover, in the case of the Christians, especially, we esteem it best to order that if it happens, anyone heretofore has bought from our treasury from anyone whatsoever those places where they were previously accustomed to assemble, concerning which a certain decree had been made and a letter sent to you officially. The same shall be restored to the Christians without payment or any claim of recompense and without any kind of fraud or deception. Those, moreover, who have obtained the same by gift, or likewise to return them at once to the Christians. Besides, both those who have purchased and those who have secured them by gift are to appeal to the viceroy if they seek any recompense from our bounty, that they may be cared for through our clemency. So whether you're free, whether you're slave, and you have been persecuted as a result of practicing Christianity, and Diocletian, here's what he did was, let me see if I can get it, bear with me. Let me see. I don't know if I can find it. Okay, maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. So Diocletian, he says he did not trust the Christians.
I didn't really say in regards to making martyrs out of those people. When you were saying that they were saying don't harm us or don't shame our name, they already had that in mind when they pulled back on feeding those people to the lions, and they were going so bravely and so willingly. They weren't really calling themselves doing them a favor, doing those people a favor.
No, they was doing themselves a favor.
That's what I was getting at.
No, the benefit was to themselves. And I where is it at? I can't find it, but I had an article. It's because I had two articles on Diocletian, and as I was reading through, so Diocletian, there are Christians in the Roman army. Diocletian does not trust them. Now Diocletian is right before the two edicts we just read. Diocletian, everything that he's doing is what is creating what Constantine does. No different than Obama, Trump, Biden, meaning everything that Obama did in his 12 years created the reaction that Trump would undo or do during his 4 years, which would cause Biden to do or what he is doing during his first year. Okay, so Diocletian, he did not trust these Christians. And so it said something to the effect that so he was going to try them, and he would tell them to do X. I forget exactly what X was, but he knew that by telling them to do X, it would reveal that the Christians would reveal themselves, expose themselves as to who they are.
Mm-hmm. At this time, those Christians the word Christian was a derogatory title, right?
Correct. I mean, it's still, right. It's not the religion. Christianity becoming the religion doesn't happen until Constantine. Christianity becomes popularized popularized meaning popular, meaning in vogue, meaning the favorite candy. Okay, the staple food with Constantine.
With Constantine, okay, there you go. I was going to say, when you said they became the Christian forest.
So prior to Constantine, the concept of Christianity was something frowned upon.
Prior to Constantine.
Prior to Constantine. Prior to Constantine is just Diocletian on back. So just like Obama to Trump, Diocletian to Constantine. That's how close in time, how overlapping in time we're talking.
So you're saying neither one of them was any good? Even
neither one was any good.
Right.
Diocletian was no good, and Constantine was no good.
Because Obama was no good, and now Trump
is no
good.
Right. And as we watch the video, we're gonna see how Constantine had his motives as we look. So, but right now we just kind of seeing some backdrop so that we can make sense of everything as it comes together. Okay. So he was kicking folks. He was getting rid of people. He didn't trust them. So when were the Christians ever trusted? Prior to
getting rid of,
because they were in the Roman army. These were just like in the United States Army, there is
honorable discharge.
No, there are Negroes in the army.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And to that extent, there are some Israelites in today's
army. They
army.
Have American citizenship.
They have American citizenship. Now, notice I used two terms just there.
Mm-hmm.
One term I said, right now in 2021, there are Negroes in the United States military. Likewise, there are some Israelites in today's military.
Explain.
Race-wise, these are one and the same individuals. Religious practice-wise, in terms of using the term Israelite, because a lot of people like to use that term Israelite to denote religion when that term denotes racial identity. But to those who use it to denote religion, here are individuals who are faithful to the laws, the ordinances, the statutes that the Father has given us, to the Mosaic law that we read about between Genesis and Deuteronomy. And they keep the faith of Jesus Christ. So they practice the customs and so forth. But meanwhile, they are in the United States military. There are certain things that they yet have to behaviors that they have to do. Now, the Negro, he gonna do what he gonna do, and he don't care. But he's, in terms of racial identity, the Negro and the Israelite, one and the same.
Yeah.
In terms of religion, the Negro and the Israelite are two distinct breed of people.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Okay?
Mentally.
Mentally, they are two distinct breed of people. mentally. Bloodline, they one and the same. Okay. All right. Let's get off of this Edict of Milan. Let's get back to this video.
Is it a religion that Jesus would recognize?
In the 4th century AD, the Roman Empire was divided into 4 major areas. Each region had its own ruler. But when Constantine's father, who ruled the West, died in York, England.
So now this has, people always say that the Bible is just a fairy tale book, but here we are seeing the Bible holds historical attributes that is discussed in other scholarly works. So here they're telling us, listen once again what they say about the Roman Empire.
In the 4th century AD, the Roman Empire was divided into 4 major areas.
It said in the 4th century AD, the Roman Empire was divided into 4 regions. How did that come about? And then they even color code the regions for us. So let's see the color code regions.
Each region had its own ruler. But when Constantine's father, who ruled the West, died in York, England.
Okay, so how does these regions come about? Let's go to First Maccabees chapter 1. We're gonna read verses 1 through 9.
First Maccabees. Call it again.
First Maccabees chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 1 through 9.
Book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 9.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece.
So in this time period, we I've seen historical references label this as 333 BC, and I've seen 331 BC. So I've seen in those two. I mean, that's a matter of a 2-year difference. You know, I'm not a historian, so to that end, those 2 years don't seem like a lot to me in terms of looking at ancient history. Read.
2, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils in many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up.
So this is Alexander, whom they label when I was at what, 8th grade, high school, somewhere around there, they used the term Alexander the Great. But he wasn't so great. He's enslaving my people. Okay, read.
4. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things, he fell sick.
So after he did all this conquering, he fell sick. Read.
And perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
So he parted his kingdom, knowing that he was going to die. He parted his kingdom. He divided his kingdom up. Read.
7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule over one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years.
Okay, and that's what we want. So his 4 friends, his 4 generals, Cassander, Ptolemy, Antagonist, and Seleucus. Cassander, capital Cassander, was over Macedonia and Greece. Ptolemy, capital Ptolemy, was over Egypt, and Antagonist, Asia, and Seleucus over Mesopotamia and Central Asia. So this is wherein the dividing of the empire first began. We read about it in the book of Maccabees, the historical account. Go to Daniel. I'm going to Daniel once again to reveal that the Bible is not some fairy tale book. The book of Daniel prophesied about it before it became a historical event in the book of Maccabees. So
again, Daniel.
The book of Daniel, chapter 8 and verse 8. We're just going to jump right to the point. And for those at home, I encourage you to read Daniel chapter 8, verse 1 on down through 8.
The book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 8. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great.
The he-goat is Alexander. The he-goat is the Grecians, the Greeks. Read.
And when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
And when it was broken, 4 notable ones. Who are the 4 notable ones? Cassander, Ptolemy, Antagonist, and Seleucus. Okay, so now let's get back to this video.
In the year 306, his army declared Constantine ruler of the entire Roman Empire. This sparked a bloody struggle to determine who would end up emperor. In the year 312, Constantine was pitted against the general Maxentius, who controlled the central region, including the city of Rome. Their famous struggle for power was depicted 1,200 years later in these frescoes by Renaissance artist Raphael. Based on early Christian sources, Raphael painted these narratives on the Vatican walls. And it's these frescoes that tell us the traditional story of how Constantine converted to Christianity.
So now these paintings, frescoes, these paintings, they're not created until the time period of the Renaissance. So 1,200 years after the historical event, here we get these paintings. Now, the term Renaissance that is a term worth looking at. Okay, so let's look at this term Renaissance.
How's that spelled?
Renaissance. So okay, and this is coming from Wikipedia. So the Renaissance is a period in European history marking the transition from the Middle Ages, or what they call the Dark Ages, to modernity, modern times, and covering the 15th and 16th centuries. So covering the 1400s on through the 1500s, covering the late 1300s. So always with these histories, the start period and end period can vary from one historian to the next. Characterized by an effort to revive and surpass ideas and achievements of classical antiquity, meaning the time period of the Greeks and the Romans. So we want to go back to the Greeks and the Romans, to those ideas, and we want to bring those ideas back to life and improve upon them. Okay. It occurred after the crisis of the late Middle Ages and was associated with great social change, in addition to the standard periodization. Okay. So this gives us a pretty quick definition of what the Renaissance period was. Here is Alexander the Sixth. So this guy here is the guy responsible. His son is the model used for the modern day Christ that we see today.
What's his name again?
This guy is Alexander the Sixth. His son is Caesar Borgia.
He's some important person in Rome, right?
He is the Pope.
Okay.
And he used trickery to become the Pope.
He used trickery to make folks think his son was Christ.
Correct. And Leonardo da Vinci is instrumental in also creating these images that we see today. This guy right here. Okay. So that's what we got. All right, let's get back.
There's a much older work of art that tells a different tale. It's called the Arch of Constantine. And Constantine himself had it built here, in the center of Rome, to celebrate his victory over Maxentius. Over 6 stories high, Constantine's arch was erected just 91 meters from the Colosseum, where Christians were once killed for sport.
So they built this structure almost 300 feet from the Colosseum. And as we go further into this dude was just slapping Christianity in the face. He was spitting in the face of it. So keep that in mind, that this guy had this thing built 298 feet from the Colosseum.
For fear of damage, the Department of Antiquities in Rome hasn't given anyone permission to examine it up close for more than 30 years. Until now.
The closest you can get to Constantine is the arch behind me across from the Colosseum. It's Constantine's Victory Arch, and on it he sculpted his narrative. The problem is you can't get close to it. In 30 years, no one has. But now, we're going to go up and take a look.
In his quest to decode the arch, Simca is joined by Constantine expert Elizabeth Marlowe, who has seen the carvings on Constantine's arch only from ground level or in photographs. Until now, she has never seen them up close.
Oh my God, look at that. That is so fantastic. Look how big they are.
From this elevated perspective, Simca can now see how Constantine wanted his victory over Maxentius depicted in stone for all time.
This is amazing. I'm excited.
It's spectacular to be up here.
Everyone should see Constantine's arch this way.
So Constantine has these reliefs in this structure, which is a picture history of what happened, of his life, of his reign.
He got his own so-called hieroglyphs
Yes,
to tell his story.
to tell his story. That's exactly what this is. Okay.
So let's
Constantine's arch depicts the battle between Constantine and Maxentius for strategic control of the Milvian Bridge, just north of Rome. According to the tradition depicted in Raphael's paintings, Constantine's forces were greatly outnumbered. But then, Constantine is said to have had a vision of the cross, followed by a dream of Jesus that changed his life and ours forever. In that moment, Constantine was said to have denounced the Roman paganism that he was brought up with in favor of a newfound belief in Christianity. He ordered his soldiers to paint their shields and banners with the symbol of the cross and led his army to victory. He then went on to convert the entire Roman world to the Christian faith. That's what the Christian tradition tells us. But what does Constantine's arch have to say? In this panel, Constantine's face was deliberately hacked out by a long-forgotten opponent to his legacy. Here, we can still clearly see the defeated Maxentius drowning in the river Tiber. But is there any evidence that Constantine really had a vision of the cross that converted him to Christianity?
Who's that guy behind him?
That's one of his own men carrying a standard. That's a military standard.
No cross there.
No cross there.
You can't see that from down below.
No.
I see a shield very clearly.
Yes.
No cross there.
No. No. When we look at the evidence from Constantine's reign itself, the Arch of Constantine really being the best source we have in the years immediately following that battle, there's no trace of Christianity on this monument.
No images of Jesus, no crosses, no Christian symbolism anywhere on his arch. Considering his vision, You would think Constantine would be championing Christianity. Is it possible that there was no vision at all? In Constantine's day, emperors had to win over the Roman army. Was the vision invented to win over Christian soldiers? But wait a minute.
So that's exactly what's going on here. This guy laid it out. There's another video that I watched, lays out the same story. So you have two historians laying out the same cause of Constantine. Constantine is trying to win over the army. He needs the support of the Christians in the army. He's trying to win them over. So he fakes, he feigns, or feigns is the word, that he has a belief in Christianity.
Yeah, he's faking that he has a belief.
He's faking. And then not only is he faking, as we find out, he's going to change Christianity that is in the pages of the Bible. To the end, like they said, the guy said in the video just now, changed our lives forever. But not forever, but even to this day, because the vast majority of
Changed our lives since.
Changed our lives since. Half the people don't read, or the half that do read, they have imagery in their mind that won't allow them to have a clear understanding of what the biblical text is talking about. Okay. So let's see here. Let's jump.
To Jesus. Early Christian history. It's in record. States that the Roman Emperor Constantine received a divine vision of Jesus before defeating his arch-rival Maxentius, winning control of the Roman Empire and causing the Western world to become Christian. But was Constantine a true Christian? The most important statement we have from him is his triumphal arch in Rome. On it, Simca doesn't find a single Christian icon, but he does find pagan symbols. On this panel, Constantine is surrounded by pagan gods, the god of the river Tiber, a winged goddess of victory, and by Roma, goddess of Rome. An archaeological patchwork of pagan symbolism. Compelling evidence that Constantine only adopted Christian ideas to gain favor with Roman soldiers in both his and Maxentius's armies. But winning over common soldiers wasn't enough.
To gain control over the entire Roman Empire, Constantine needed the support of the officer corps and the Roman elite. Many members of these classes belonged to a mysterious cult, It had been around since before Jesus. The cult was called Mithraism, named after a Mediterranean sun god called Mithras. How did Constantine mobilize both these religions to serve his own ends? Can it be that what appealed to him was a blend of Mithraism and Christianity? Did he fuse the two together to create a super religion that would allow him to gain control over the entire Roman world?
So, exactly. Go ahead. Say what you said again, Elder.
What, when I send the combo?
The combo, yeah.
Of merging paganism and Christian faith, not Christianity yet. Because I'm thinking it didn't become Christianity until the merge of the Son, God, and the ones that follow Christ. Is what I'm seeing there. It's how he did his political hoopla, his political acrobat.
Sorcery. This is
Yeah.
This is sorcery.
All that. Hey, that's the way the politicians are today.
So now, we read this, I believe, last week. But let's read it again. Go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 3, verse 36.
Second Ezra, chapter 3, verse 36. Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept the precepts, thy precepts, but not the heathen.
So once again, the proof test is this. No understanding the scripture says that 2/3 of Israel is not going to repent. Okay. But this is letting us know that the heathen, they're not going to keep the laws of God. So until the return of Christ and the kingdom is established, we are not going to find a case, a situation where the heathen, meaning a biological descendant of someone not coming from Jacob, that individual, we will not see them keeping the laws and faith of the Bible. Okay? So now, this religion, Mithraism, let's read about this religion, Mithraism. Because that's what they were practicing, Mithraism. Okay, that's large enough. So once again, this is coming from Wikipedia. Mithraism, also known as the Mithric Mysteries, was a Roman mystery religion centered on the god Mithras, although inspired by Iranian worship of the Zoroastrian divinity Mithra. The Roman Mithras is linked to a new and distinctive imagery, with the level of continuity between Persian and Greco-Roman practice debated. The mysteries were popular among the Imperial Roman army from about the 1st to the 4th century, which is what the guy was just telling us, right? That this is a practice. Oh, no, we haven't gotten that part, but he's going to let us know this is a practice that only men follow. And here we have men,
Greco-Roman
soldiers.
soldiers, yeah, okay.
Okay. Worshippers of Mithras had a complex system of 7 grades of initiation and communal ritual meals. Initiates called themselves Syndixu, those united by the handshake. They met in underground temples, now called Mithria, which survived in large numbers. The cult appears to have had its center in Rome and was popular throughout the western half of the empire, as far south as Roman Africa and Numidia, as far north as Roman Britain, and to the lesser extent to Roman Syria. Okay, so let's see here. So let's go back to the video.
But instead of bones or Christian symbols, this fort revealed a special temple built by Roman officers that were devoted to the pagan god, Mithras.
My father's dog, same breed as this one, a French bulldog, was sniffing around and found the middle altar. As you can see, it's very wet here, but it was all preserved due to the dampness.
Now, this is close to the Roman fort.
Yes, and it was 500 foot soldiers, and Mithras was for the officers. So that's why it's so small.
So Mithras is for the officers. This thing is, so this, what we see here, this structure, this is for the officers.
So the Roman officer class, which Constantine belonged to, secretly worshipped Mithras at this temple. At the exact same time, an increasing number of ordinary Roman soldiers were worshiping Jesus.
So at the same, you had individuals. So you had these soldiers over here, secretly worshiping Mithras. You had these Christians over here, and when you see them put the water on the rock, there's an X right there. Okay, so you had the Christians over here. So now, by the time Constantine comes on the play, what edict has gone forth? The Edict of Milan, right? Which stamped out persecuting the Christians that Diocletian was doing.
Diocletian, that's what.
Okay, so Diocletian was persecuting. So now, remember, there was the Edict of Tolerance, and then 2 years later, the Edict of Milan. So here we have Constantine. So Constantine and his guys, they're over here worshiping Mithras. The Christians who are in the Roman army, they're over here worshiping Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still division, but they come together to fight.
Really look like a latrine.
Right next door.
Sad.
Mithraism was an elitist and secret religion
See those
practiced
urinals?
only by men. Initiates walked into this clandestine temple, lit only by a few torches.
Little bitty urinals.
Arriving at the front of the temple,
Well, to us, that's what it is.
Thank you. Yeah.
these initiates would have seen an altar to the. Arriving at the
Guarantee you
front
the
of the
dog
temple,
made a latrine.
these initiates would have seen an altar to the god Mithras, rays projecting from his head. Lit from behind by candlelight, the halo effects symbolized Mithras' status as a sun god, a striking precursor to the halo that surrounds the head of Jesus.
So that's where the halo comes from when we see these images of this Caucasian Christ, which is not scriptural, according to Revelation chapter 1, verse 13. Okay.
This could be mere coincidence if it weren't for the fact that archaeologists have found the remains of Mithraic temples all over the Roman Empire. And more often than not, those temples were found hidden beneath the world's first Christian churches. To see one of these Mithraims, Simca now goes to the Santa Prisca Church in Rome. Here, excavators pulled up the floor of the church and discovered one of the largest Mithraic temples ever found. In cavernous, dark rooms like these, the Roman elite would worship in secret.
This is amazing. I feel like I'm in the Notre Dame Cathedral of Mithras.
Well, this is a pretty sizable one. The idea is this is a recreation of the primal cave where Mithras commits the sacrifice of the bull, which is the core event in Mithraism.
The one source of light in this dark temple illuminates the centerpiece, a bas relief that depicts the main myth of Mithraic belief. Jutting out from the primordial rock, the sun god Mithras, the son of the sun, slaughters the sacrificial bull. And through the shedding of his blood, the universe is created anew.
Essentially, what we're seeing is Mithras being seen as the key creator.
So all of these close ties to what our records really say. There's this blurring of the line. Go to John chapter 1, verse 29. Here's what our records say.
The book of John, chapter 1, verse 29. The next day, John seeth Jesus coming unto him and said, Behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sins of the world.
Okay, so and the Lamb of God is Christ. Lamb of God is Christ. Why would Christ be the Lamb of God? Why was there a lamb to begin with? Go to Leviticus chapter 17, verse 11.
Call it again.
Leviticus chapter 17, verse 11.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 17, and verse 11. For the life of the flesh is the blood.
Is in the blood. Read
For
that
the
again,
life
please.
of the flesh is in the blood.
Yes, sir.
And I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls.
Okay.
For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul.
So the Bible tells us that you got to have this blood to make atonement for your soul. So there was the use of animals. But Christ became that sacrificial lamb. Go to 1 Peter's chapter 1, verse 19. Start at verse 18.
First Peter chapter 1 and verse 18. For as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, for your vain conversations received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot.
As of a lamb without blemish and without spot. Okay, Christ was without blemish and without spot. His walk was good. His walk demonstrated that he kept the laws. He kept the ordinances of the Father. Okay, go to Revelation chapter 5. What are we doing? Showing you our text. We're showing you that according to our text, Christ was the representation of the Lamb. From the Mosaic law, we had to slaughter an animal to atone for sin.
Revelations 5 and what?
5 and let's see here. Let me see how much time we got. We're about, yeah, we can do it. Start at 1.
Revelation chapter 5 and verse 1. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seal thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to read the book.
Okay, now this is future prophecy, right? That we're reading about. Read.
Neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, weep not.
Weep not.
I'm sorry, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, hath prevailed to open the book.
So you mean an actual person? An actual person. Read.
And to loosen the 7 seals thereof.
Read.
And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain.
Speaking about Christ. Read.
Having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth unto all the earth.
Okay.
And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne.
Okay.
When he had taken the book, the 4th beast and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full
vials and golden vials
and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers,
meaning incense,
which are the prayers of saints.
Are the prayers of the saints, prayers of saints. Who are the saints?
The Israelites, children of Israel.
Children of Israel. And do you recall where we read that at? Where does the Bible reveal to us who the saints are? Give us a definition who the saints are. Do you recall?
Um, I'm thinking of Revelations, but
Okay, go to Psalms 148, verse 14. We're coming right back to Revelation.
Psalm 148
Mm-hmm.
and 14. He also exalted the horn of his people,
Okay,
the praise of all his saints,
the praise of all his saints.
even of the children of Israel.
And in that word, even, it's italicized in my book.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah,
look up the definition for the word even, it's letting you know that this passage is specifically and only speaking about the children of Israel. This entire book, or this collection of books, because the Bible means collection of books, is to the children of Israel. Read.
A people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord.
A people near unto him. Now, I just made a claim. So, with my claim, go to the book of Romans. Romans chapter 1, verse 7.
The book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 7. To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints.
Called to be saints. So who is Paul writing to? Paul is writing to the children of Israel. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 2. We can start with verse 1 and 1 through 2.
Okay, call it again, please.
1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 1 through 2.
First Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 1. Paul, called to be an apostle of Jesus Christ, through the will of God. And
Sosthenes.
say that again.
Sosthenes,
our brother,
unto
the church of God, which is at Corinth.
Which is at Corinth.
Them that are sanctified in Christ Jesus, called to be saints.
Called to be saints. So once again, as he writes the letter to the Corinths, he's letting us know who this letter is addressed to. This letter is not addressed to all mankind. It's addressed to those that are sanctified in Christ Jesus, called to be saints. Who is called to be saints? The children of Israel. Go to Ephesians chapter 1, verse 1.
Book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 1. Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, by the will of God, to the saints which are at Ephesus. And to the faithful in Christ Jesus.
Called to be saints. So here again, Paul is, as he writes his letter to the Ephesians, he's letting you know who the letter is addressed to the saints, the children of Israel. Go to Philippians 1 and 1.
Philippians chapter 1, verse 1. Paul and Timotheus,
Timotheus,
the servant of Jesus Christ, to all the saints in Christ Jesus, which are at, what is that, Philippi?
Philippi,
With the bishop and deacons.
with the bishops and deacons. So Philippians. So it looks like so far we have 4 letters by Paul that are addressed to the saints. He starts each one off to the saints. Go to Colossians chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. Chapter 1, verse 1 through 2.
The book of Colossians chapter 1, verse 1. Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God, and Timotheus, our brother, to the saints and faithful brethren in Christ, which are at Colossae.
Okay. So once again, so time and time again, we see Paul writing letters addressed to the saints, and Psalms defined saints. We read in Psalms to see who the saints are. Now, just one more. Go to James chapter 1, verse 1.
James chapter 1, verse 1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad.
Right there. To the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Why were they scattered abroad? Because we went into captivity. Why do we go into captivity? Because we failed to keep the commandments of the Most High God. Okay, back to Revelation chapter 5 and verse 9. We're seeing that Christ was the sacrificial lamb.
You said Revelation chapter 1 verse 9?
Mm-hmm. As we compare and contrast what the actual record is saying to what Constantine was practicing with his religion, Mithras.
Revelation 1 and 9.
Revelation chapter 5, verse 9.
Book of Revelation chapter 5 and verse 9. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by the blood of every kindred and tongue and people and nation.
Okay.
And has made us unto our God kings.
Every tongue, every kindred, every people and nation. Why? Because the children of Israel were scattered abroad. And therefore we went into all parts of the planet to this day. Read verse 10.
Verse 10, and has made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. And I beheld and heard the voice of many angels round about the throne, and the beasts and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000, and thousands of thousands.
Those are the angels. Okay.
Saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessings. And every creature which is in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, and such as are in the sea and all that are in them, heard I saying, blessings and honor and glory and power be unto him that sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb forever and ever.
Christ. Okay.
And the four beasts said, Amen. And the 24 elders fell down and worshipped him that liveth forever and ever.
Okay. So now, go to Hebrews chapter 10, verse 3. Because Mithra, and Constantine, this what we talking about is 325, 313, 320, 321. Constantine is practicing Mithras. And Mithras, they slaughter animals. They slaughter a calf or a cow and drain the blood.
Was a bull.
A bull. Okay, read.
Hebrews 10:3. But in those sacrifices, there is a remembrance again made of sin every year.
What sacrifices? The sacrifices of Day of Atonement. Go to Hebrews 9 and 7.
Hebrews 9, verse 7. But unto the second went the high priest along once every year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people.
So we're talking about Day of Atonement. Go to Exodus chapter 30, verse 10.
The book of Exodus, chapter 30, and verse 10. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns of it once in a year with the blood of the sin offerings of atonements. Once in the year shall he make atonement upon it throughout your generations. It is most holy unto the Lord.
It is most holy unto the Lord. So this is what they were doing that we read about in Hebrews 10 and 3. Go to Matthew 26, 28. Matthew 26, 28.
Say 10 and 28.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 28.
The book of Matthew, chapter 26 and 28. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins.
For the remission of sins. His blood. Okay. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 4. Read verse 3 again so that we can transition into 4.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 3. But in those sacrifices, there is a remembrance again made of sins every year. For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins.
It says it's not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sin. What is he talking about? Jump down to verse 8.
Verse 8. Above, when he said, sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings and offerings for sin thou wouldest not, neither has pleasure therein, which are offered by the law.
He says, I never had pleasure in you killing these animals for your sins. Go to Hebrews 9 and 9.
Hebrews 9 and verse 9, which was a figure for the time then present,
Mm-hmm.
in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect, as pertaining to the conscience.
As pertaining to your mind. So for that time period, it was a figure, it was the action that was played out, that in the future time period, it was going to make sense. Get it right, y'all.
Hebrews 10 and what? Before we went to 9 and 9?
10 and 8.
And then after that,
9 and 9. And Hosea 6 and 6 is where we're going right now.
6 and 6.
Yes, sir.
The book of Hosea, chapter 6 and verse 6. For I desired mercy, and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings.
I desired the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. So this is the mind of God. Mithras, they're still slaughtering animals. Constantine still slaughtering animals. He doesn't have the mind of God. He's not following Christ. We don't slaughter animals. Okay. So let's go back to this video.
God who makes possible. Essentially, what we're seeing is Mithras being seen as the key creator God who makes possible the regeneration of life.
And you've got the primordial rock, the cocoon out of which the whole universe is born. Impressive, but it also sounds pretty pagan. And yet, a strange inscription here suggests a more Christian approach. We don't have many inscriptions of Mithras, right? It's a secret, and they didn't write that much. This is unusual in this place, that it does have a very faded inscription.
That is correct. One particular text, the Latin translates as, "And you have saved us through the shedding of the eternal blood."
You have saved us through the shedding of the eternal blood.
Yes.
So here, the central bloodletting is seen as an act of salvation.
Yes, and the key event in the whole nature of cosmic creation and the whole nature of life.
Mithras sacrifices the bull and spills its blood, strangely corresponding to the Christian concept of Jesus offering his own blood to save mankind. But the similarities still in there.
A lot of
Okay, so, but we just seeing, so we see there how they're blurring the lines between the two.
Mm-hmm.
They're blurring the lines between the two, and he talked about regeneration. Go to Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 9.
Wisdom of Solomon 3 and verse 9. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints.
Is to his saints. Read.
And he hath care for his elect.
He has care. So the key to this is we got to put our trust in the Most High. We have to learn these scriptures. Go to Wisdom of Proverbs chapter 7 verse 2. Proverbs chapter 7, verse 2.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 7, and verse 2. Keep my commandments and live, and my law is the apple of thine eye.
There you go. If we're going to live, we must keep the commandments. If we're going to live, we must keep the commandments. Go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 15 and 16. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 15 through 16.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, and verse 15. But the righteous live forevermore. The reward also is with the Lord, and the care of them is with the Most High. Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom and a beautiful crown for the Lord's hand.
Okay.
For with his right hand shall he cover them, and with his arm shall he protect them.
So does the Bible talk about regeneration? It does. It truly does. But those that are going to understand it are going to be those that are keeping the commandments. You're not keeping the commandments, you're not going to understand it. Read Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 2.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, and verse 2. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear.
The they are those that persecute the righteous. Read.
And shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation.
His salvation, but it's belonging to or granted to the righteous. Read.
So beyond all that they look for.
So far beyond all that they looked for. So the salvation that came to the righteous man is going to be a strange thing to the wicked. Okay. So again, does the Bible discuss regeneration? Absolutely. But in order for you to understand it, you got to be keeping the commandments. If you ain't keeping the commandments, this whole conversation is strange to you. If you ain't keeping the commandments, this whole lesson, you probably ready to drop off already.
Right.
Okay. So let's go back to this video.
All of the Mithraic rituals very closely corresponded to what the Christians would do in their worship.
And just as Jesus died and was resurrected, so was Mithras. Mithras is pictured right next to a sculpture of an Egyptian god.
And this particular god, if you look carefully at his forehead, you notice that little lock that hangs down there. That's actually what signified that he is the reconfiguration of the god Osiris.
And Osiris is the dying
Exactly.
and resurrected
Right.
god of the Egyptians.
Right.
Just like Christians, Mithraeus believed in the concept of resurrection, which may explain why both religions were popular to members of the military. Faced with the daily risk of death, who wouldn't put their faith in the possibility of resurrection and eternal life? What's most compelling?
Okay, so go to Isaiah chapter 45, verse 5. Mithras is shared with an Egyptian deity.
Yeah, I see that. Book of Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 5. I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me.
There is no God beside me. Read.
I gird thee, though thou hast not known me.
All right. Go to, and it was an Egyptian god. Go to Isaiah 45, verse 14.
All right, Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 14. Thus saith the Lord, the labor of Egypt and the merchandise of Ethiopia and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto thee, and they shall be thine. They shall come after thee, in chains they shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God.
Read.
Verily thou art a God that hidest thyself. O God of Israel.
O God of Israel.
The Savior.
Read one more.
They shall be ashamed and also confounded, all of them.
Every last one of them. Who? The Egyptians, the Ethiopian, the Sabians, all these men of stature. Read 16 again.
They shall be ashamed.
They shall be ashamed.
And also confounded.
Not able to answer. Read.
All of them. They shall go to confusion together that are makers of idols.
That are makers of idols. One more.
But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation.
But Israel, the children of Israel, will be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Read.
Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end.
World without end.
Yes, sir. I was looking for this particular scripture when I came in here.
Oh, praise the same.
I couldn't remember. Yeah, I remember exactly, what it was, what the call was. Here we come, run right into it. All praise.
Okay, let's go back to this video.
We started at Isaiah 45 and
5.
skipped down there.
Yes.
Christian iconography.
As it turns out, Mithraism is embedded in the Gospels themselves through the story of the three wise men. At the Church of St. Apollinaire Nuovo in Ravenna, Italy, the iconography is still Mithraic.
Here we have the three wise men, also known as the Magi. This is the scene that's recounted at the birth of Christ, that these three wise men are bringing these gifts to the Christ child. And the hats that they're wearing, in Greco-Roman art, this sort of became the standard hat that would be used in their artwork to denote somebody who's an Easterner.
But these hats were worn by just any non-Christian from the East, called for In caps, they were the official hats of the Mithraic priesthood,
It really does.
also known as the Magi. Even Mithras is depicted wearing the same style of hat. And although there are no Christian symbols on the Arch of Constantine, the arch is literally ringed by 8 Magi-looking figures wearing the Phrygian hats of the Mithraic priesthood.
But if Constantine was the worshiper of the sun god, how could he have championed Christianity?
Say again.
I wouldn't be surprised if those hats had some connection with the Smurfs creation.
You know, when you said that, that's exactly what went through my mind. I wouldn't be surprised either.
Constantine was the worshiper of the sun god. How could he have championed Christianity? Unless he created a new version of Christianity, partially fashioned in the image Mithras. To do that, he would have had to convince Christians that he was one of them, while in reality supporting the introduction of pagan ideas into their faith. To do that, I believe Constantine needed the help of someone working on the inside of the early Christian church.
So there you go. There you go. Go to, now they said 3 wise men. And they always say that these doggone Christians, every time, they always say, around this time, 3 wise men. But the Christians, but the scriptures never say 3 wise men. Go to Matthew chapter 2, verse 7.
The book of Matthew, chapter 2 and verse 7. Then
Herod.
Okay. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared.
So it says, called the wise men, period. Period. Called the wise men, okay? And then there's this whole idea of Christmas. Now, the Bible doesn't outright say the month and day that Christ was born. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1.
Ecclesiastes what?
Chapter 7, verse 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pass it up. Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 1. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth.
Than the day of one's birth. In our customs, according to the Bible, according to Josephus, we don't celebrate, we don't honor birthdays. We just don't do it. Now, go to Luke chapter 2, verse 39.
Okay. Call it again, I'm sorry.
Luke chapter 2, verse 39 through 42.
Some nice scriptures. Just slow me down. Luke 2 and 39. And when they had performed all things according to the law of the Lord,
Talking about Joseph and Mary concerning Christ.
they returned into Galilee to their own city, Nazareth.
Okay, read.
And the child grew.
Christ grew.
And waxed strong in spirit.
His understanding increased.
Filled with wisdom.
Filled with, so not only did his understanding increase, he knew, he championed at knowing the law. He championed at being able to discern, being able to know the deeper meanings of the law and of the things of God. Read.
And the grace of God was upon him. Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover.
At the feast of Passover, which takes place around spring. Generally about 15 days. Passover itself generally takes place about 15 days after spring equinox. Read.
42. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the customs of the feast.
When he was 12 years old. So, are we to read this passage and understand that it is letting us know that it was at this time that he had become 12? Or are we to read this passage and understand in the year of in the 12th year of his life at Passover? Okay. Now, when I read it, I see that Christ, that this is signifying about the time his birthday was occurring. When I read this, no. One of those two interpretations is the understanding. I can't see a third interpretation. So it's either, verse 42 is either letting us know that 41 and 42, that this is the time period, Passover is the time period of Christ's birthday, Christ's birth, or is letting us know that during this year of Christ's life, when they went to Passover, Christ then did what he did when we read verse 43 and beyond. Okay, so that's my opinion. That's my thought. And I strongly believe that it can only be one of those two thinkings. Now, that's all I'm gonna say on Christ's birthday for the time being. Let's go back.
Yeah, this is a day for people that I know. Sorry. Douglas, two of her grandchildren, today is their birthday, and they will celebrate.
We see, we don't celebrate it.
Constantine is known to history as the emperor who converted the Roman Empire to the teachings of Jesus. But the Arch of Constantine has no Christian symbolism on it whatsoever. and evidence found beneath the first Christian churches suggests that Constantine fused Mithraism with Christianity to win the patronage of the powerful Roman elite.
But this leaves one problem. How could Constantine get true Christians to go along with his version of their faith? And what about the founding fathers of the church? After years of persecution, of worshiping in secret, surely they wouldn't let Constantine manipulate their religion for his gain. Or would they? There's compelling evidence to suggest that Constantine's vision was a postscript to what really happened at the Milvian Bridge.
As it turns out, while Constantine was still alive, there was only one church father who recorded Constantine's life and his celebrated conversion to Christianity. His name was Eusebius, and besides becoming Constantine's sole biographer, he also became Constantine's right-hand man in the Christian world. According to Eusebius's writings, it's here at the Milvian Bridge, north of Rome, that Constantine had a vision of the cross.
So Eusebius.
He sounds like some kind of advisor to me.
So here's the man behind this vision that Constantine had that would be shared out to the end. Even today, Constantine switched over to Christianity, this, that, and the third. No. Okay.
And a dream about Jesus that inspired him to win the battle and change the world forever.
So here's the Milvian Bridge. This is the bridge that gets associated with the battle.
So this bridge behind you becomes, in a sense, a metaphor for the change of human history.
Yeah. The bridge becomes a way to refer to not necessarily the battle itself, but the consequences of the battle.
Yet in Eusebius's first draft of this account, he doesn't mention Constantine's vision at all.
No vision, no dream yet.
So Eusebius's first account of the Battle of the Milvian Bridge that took place somewhere right where we're standing, even Eusebius, who's like, yes, a church father, a bishop, great admirer of Constantine, does not mention visions.
In that account, no.
So why in his first account he doesn't indicate that this vision, was he ignorant of Constantine proclaiming to have had a vision, or is there something else behind it?
Because it didn't happen. But
Without a vision of Jesus, how did Constantine convince his contemporaries that he had converted to Christianity? Eusebius's own writings suggest that Constantine persuaded Eusebius to rewrite his account of the Milvian Bridge during a great banquet that Constantine held for the leaders of the Christian church.
There you have it. Constantine persuaded, convinced, strong-armed him, pulled him over to the side. If you don't do this, this is going to happen.
I thought so.
Change your account. I need people to believe that I believe what they believe when I don't believe.
Can you believe that?
Can you believe that?
Man.
So that's what's going on. And this is the brand of Christianity that we follow today. Well, these Christians follow.
I know what you're talking about. We as a people.
We as, right, society.
Yeah.
In the year 325, after years of persecution, Eusebius and his fellow bishops were now being hosted by the emperor himself. And it seems that it was at this banquet, 13 years after the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, that Eusebius Eusebius first heard anything about Constantine's vision.
So Constantine tells the story about the vision of the cross before the battle at the Milvian Bridge. When Constantine tells the story, he emphasizes, first of all, the vision of a cross in the sky at noontime. Secondly, he then had a dream in which Jesus Christ himself appeared and explained the vision to him.
Almost like he's a prophet. He has visions, he has dreams. Jesus speaks to him.
Precisely.
And here, in these original texts by Eusebius, one can see the impact of Constantine's story on Eusebius and his fellow bishops.
So here's Eusebius's description of the banquet. He compares this banquet with the emperor to the coming of Jesus. And Christians had anticipated if there was going to be a Christian ruler, it might well be Jesus come back to earth.
So that's what's going on there. Let's skip ahead.
Constantine represents the myth. What did Constantine really believe in?
That's the question. What did Constantine really believe?
I grew up in a Muslim home.
The only direct link we have to Constantine is his arch, which is adorned by pagan symbols.
So the arch has no symbols, symbolic imagery of Christianity. But it has all this symbolic symbolism of paganism, and that which is closely related to Mithras.
But on it, we can also see reliefs depicting three former emperors. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius, the conqueror Trajan, and the statesman Hadrian, all stolen from previous monuments and strategically recycled for his arch. Begging the question, why would Constantine decorate a monument to his own achievements with reliefs taken from other emperors? Unless he was really saying something about himself.
Isn't he telling us what everybody thinks are winners are really losers? And me, I'm the real winner. At the end of the day, I'm going to refashion the world in a way that Hadrian, Trajan, and Marcus Aurelius could not even imagine.
I would agree with you that Constantine would have been very happy if people looking at his arch had been able to take away the message that he is going to supersede the legacy of even Rome's best previous emperors.
But how was he going to do that? The answer may lie at the very top of the arch. Here, there is an inscription, and it states in Latin, Instinctu Divinitatis, which describes Constantine as divinely inspired. But if it's not Jesus who's inspiring him, which God is? When looking at what's depicted on his arch, what we find are pagan gods from the Roman pantheon, and none so prominently rendered as the sun god Apollo.
There you go.
That is amazing.
And it's so appropriate with the rising of the sun god right there to have it illuminated by the sun this way.
Before Constantine's alleged
on Constantine, how do you get these followers of Christ in
the army,
in the army?
especially because and what they said even in the video. So Constantine had a small amount of men. He had a small amount of men in his army, which were Christians.
Right.
But at this battle, where he was going to be fighting Maxentius, Maxentius had more Christian folk in his army. So not only was Constantine trying to win the favor of the men on this side, he also needs to win the favor of the men on this side, because he badmouthed Maxentius, saying how Maxentius was a pagan worshiper. He don't believe, and so on and so forth. So he was turning those soldiers against Maxentius.
Yeah, he was trying to cause them to rebel and just be traitors, if you will.
Right.
And go to the side that they feel that they belong to, which is Christ.
Right.
Smart move, Constantine.
So, well, from a strategic point of view,
strategic,
that's
a smart move.
Okay. So here we go.
Art of war.
Art of war. Art of war. But it's going to go even deeper as we continue. So you caught that one, that's great, but it's gonna go yet another layer deeper.
Okay.
He followed the official religion of the Roman Empire, the imperial cult.
On this way.
Before Constantine's alleged vision, he followed the official religion of the Roman Empire, the imperial cult, a pagan religion that worshipped Apollo above all else. Much like the pagan god Mithras, Apollo was the sun god that represented the light of creation.
So that's where his heart and mind is at.
The imperial cult, Constantine, as emperor, was a superhuman avatar, the link between Apollo and the rest of humanity. And from the archaeology, it's clear that Constantine bought into this idea completely. He commissioned this 12-meter statue of himself. And not surprisingly, the statue came with an enormous head. Built into the statue's healthy hairline may be evidence that Constantine believed he was more than a mere representative of Apollo.
There are dowel holes that certainly were for some kind of insert, and it seems likely that it was for a rayed crown.
So that's on the statue. A very large statue that he had built, which means that this statue had become the thing that was placed on top.
That's what they're showing now was just what he wanted, but it didn't happen.
Well, no. So right here, the depressions, they reason that those sunbeams would have fit perfect right in there. So at one point, at one time, those sunbeams were indeed right there.
Certainly were for some kind of insert, and it seems likely that it was for a rayed crown.
That's not.
So, yeah. Amos chapter 3, verse 2. he was a prophet. You know, God, Jesus Christ himself spoke to him, and so on and so forth. All these things we just heard.
Book of Amos, chapter 3 and verse 2. You only have I known of all the families of the earth.
This is speaking to the children. Start at verse 1.
Amos 3 and 1. Hear this word that the Lord hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth.
The children of Israel are the only that God has known. Okay, read.
Therefore will I punish you for all your iniquities.
I will punish you. Other nations are not being punished for nothing that they do. They don't get punished. I mean, they're going to get, their punishment comes because of their actions against the children of Israel. That's their punishment. That's where they go off. When they do against the children of Israel. Go to Joel chapter 2, verse 27.
Joel chapter 2, verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord, your God, and none else.
Mm-hmm.
And my people shall never be ashamed.
I am your God, God of the children of Israel, and none else. How do you get anything other than what's there? How do you get a meaning beyond the words on the page?
Ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord, your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed.
How do you get a meaning beyond the words on the page?
Wishful and hopeful feelings, I guess.
Go to 1 Chronicles chapter 17.
The strength of inclusion. You say,
First Chronicles chapter 17, verse 21 and 22.
the book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 17, and verse 21. And what one nation in the earth is like thy people Israel.
And what one nation, the Bible says, is like the children of Israel. Read.
Whom God went to redeem to be his own people.
Now he went and redeemed some other nation.
To make his own people.
Read.
To make thee a name of greatness and terribleness. By driving out nations from before thy people. Whom thou hast redeemed out of Egypt.
Whom thou hast redeemed out of Egypt. Read.
For thy people Israel, didst thou make thine own people forever?
See there? So right there. For thy people Israel, didst thou make thine own people forever? Read.
And thou, Lord, becamest their God.
One more.
Therefore now, Lord, let the thing that thou hast spoken concerning thy servant, concerning his house, be established forever, and do as thou hast said.
Last one.
Let it even be established, that thy name may be magnified forever, saying, the Lord of hosts is the God of Israel. even a God to Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and let the house of David thy servant be established before thee.
Before thee. How do you get anything other than the words on the page, a meaning beyond the words on the page? Okay.
17. What did we start? 17.
We started at verse 21.
We went through 24, right?
Yes, sir.
For human.
The image of Constantine with sun rays emanating from his head. From his head not only matches the earliest images of Apollo, it also matches the iconography of Mithras. And is it just coincidence that Christian art begins to depict Jesus the same way, with a halo of light around his head? Or was Constantine combining all the gods of light into one? When Constantine claimed to have had a vision of the Milvian Bridge, which religion was Constantine truly embracing?
Was he embracing Christianity, meaning Christ? Was he embracing Mithras? Was he embracing Apollo? But Apollo and Mithras apparently from
is a Roman mystery religion, and wasn't Apollo a Rome god? If you agree,
right.
Okay.
Constantine abandoned paganism for Christianity? Or did he blend Apollo and Mithras into Jesus Christ and then refashion all three in his own image? As it turns out, when Constantine had his arch built, he topped it off with a bronze portrait of himself. Destroyed in antiquity, this statue depicted him riding the same kind of chariot as Apollo, seemingly taking off into sunny skies. Constantine is known in history as the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity.
Okay.
Constantine was a narcissist too.
He saw himself as having a special relationship with them.
If Constantine saw himself as divinely ordained, he would have seen his reign as the new founding. He would have believed that he was responsible for changing the course of human history. And the new founding needs a new capital. Rome would no longer do. So he went to what is today Istanbul, modern-day Turkey, and he founded a new capital for his new empire. He didn't name it after Jesus or the apostles. Rather, he stayed true to his nature and he named it after himself. He called the new city Constantinople.
He left Rome and he certainly never returned there again. Settled on this incomparable site. It bridges the two continents. It's strategically and tactically located in virtually an ideal position, easily defended. And I think he wanted a mine.
Okay.
So usually they name stuff that they either conquered or stolen. In this case, which one did he do?
Well,
I'm wondering. Is there any history on that?
not that I researched.
Okay.
Not, that's a good question. So right now, I'm not prepared to answer that one.
Were they afraid of him? Did he have that much power to where he could just go somewhere and name it after him?
I would assume that he had conquered that land, that he had,
That's the most.
that he was, yeah. I would assume, but historically speaking and how it came about, I'm not prepared to answer that question. But in terms of he placing the holy city placing the holy city in Constantinople, which was Istanbul, Turkey, named the city after himself and so forth. He makes himself to be the venerated God. Go to Psalms 132, verse 13.
The book of Psalms, chapter 132 and 13. For the Lord had chosen Zion. He had desired it for his habitation.
He had desired Zion for his habitation. He has desired Zion for his habitation. Go to 1 Chronicles, chapter 6, verse 6. I'm sorry, 2 Chronicles, chapter 6, verse 6. Second Chronicles chapter 6, verse 6.
2 Chronicles chapter 6 and verse 6. But I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there, and I have chosen David to be over my people, Israel.
I have chosen Jerusalem, that I might put my name there. I didn't choose Istanbul, Turkey, and it be called Constantinople. I've chosen Jerusalem. Go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 5, and start at verse 23 through 27.
Second Ezra chapter 5, verse 23. And said, O Lord, that bears rule of every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof. Thou hast chosen thee one only vine.
Thou hast chosen one only vine. Read.
And of all land of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit.
One pit. These are the choices of the Lord. Read.
And of all the flowers thereof, one lily.
Of all the flowers, he didn't choose the peace lily. He didn't choose the rose. He chose the lily. Read.
And of all lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen.
In all the depths of the sea. Verse 25.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm back. Sorry about that. And of all the depths of the sea, thou hast filled thee one river. And of all the built cities, thou hast hallowed Zion unto thyself.
Thou hast hallowed Zion, Jerusalem, Israel, unto thyself. So he has a chosen land.
Mhm.
Read on.
And of all the fowls that are created, thou hast named thee one dove.
Mm-hmm.
And of all the cattle that are made, thou hast provided thee one sheep.
One sheep. Go on.
And among all the multitudes of people, thou hast gotten thee one people.
One people. Read.
And unto this people, whom thou lovest, thou gavest a law that is approved of all.
Mm.
And
So,
now,
no, that's it. Okay. So God has, of all the things that he has created, he has special things, that he has favorite things. Of all the things he has created, he created all this, but he has his favorite in this category. He created all this, but he has his favorite in this category. He created all this, but he has his favorite in this category.
Mhm.
And it's not Istanbul, Turkey. All right. We're about to wrap up here. We're getting to the finish line. We're approaching the finish line.
Monument to himself. He wanted his own city with his own imprint on it.
Despite Constantine's reputation as the first Christian emperor,
What'd you
the
say?
most dominant feature of Constantinople's skyline was not a Christian church, but a giant column that was once topped by a huge bronze statue of the sun god Apollo. The statue is long gone, and the column is under renovation. But at the time of Constantine, people were worshiping the sun god here.
When the city was built, this was a big plaza or forum, and that column was in the center of it. It's about 100 feet in the air. What's significant about it is that in subsequent years, Christian bishops and theologians were very upset about the fact that the people of Constantinople conducted divine services here.
And yet, Constantine's statue of Apollo was not like other pagan images. He did make a slight modification to it. He replaced Apollo's face with his own.
What they should better continues that in this statue, he put a relic of the true cross. So he's attaching relics of Jesus to, or inserting them in this statue. So he erects a statue of himself. And this statue
Donald Trump read
depicts
something
him
about this.
as Apollo.
Say it again.
I said Donald Trump read something about this because he's got the same mindset that I'm hearing here.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But for good measure, we've got a little bit of the true cross. Makes sense? Yes.
From this bird's eye view, he's reminded that Constantine's arch is off-center by almost 2 meters from the original road that ran through it. But why? The Romans were famous for their feats of engineering. Surely they wouldn't make a mistake when building the emperor's new arch. There had to be some other reason. A reason that must be hiding in plain sight. Based on
Yep. But yes, but there's a little more to it.
we know that during Constantine's time, there was was a colossal statue that stood 108 meters behind the arch. But this was not just any statue. It was a 30-meter high monument to Apollo. Is there a connection between the statue and the arch? Expert Elizabeth Marlowe thinks she's found a connection.
So then I started playing around on the living room floor in my apartment, where I made a little cutout of the arch and I propped it up, and I got a doll and I set him up and then set the arch up in front of him, and I worked out the proportions very carefully, lying down and peering through the central passageway. For me, that was the aha moment.
Based on her living room reconstructions, Marlowe came up with a compelling new theory as to why Constantine's arch was built where it was. But to prove her theory, Marlowe first had to brave rush hour Roman traffic so that she could gain the right perspective. The evidence on the ground confirmed her hypothesis. Constantine's arch was built off-center on the road so as to perfectly frame the Colossus of Apollo behind it. According to Marlowe, as you entered Rome, you would have seen Apollo's head looming above the statue of Constantine on his arch, as if watching over Constantine. But as you moved closer to the arch itself, the sun god would have dropped below Constantine until he was left standing in the center of the main archway.
At the point when the statue is framed in the central passageway, it is the figure of Constantine that is now looming above in the sky.
As the sun is setting, what is rising
Is
is
Constantine, yes, yes. The arch is literally a reframing of the sun god, with Constantine on top of the arch.
Marlowe has revealed a clear example where, on the surface, Constantine seems to be putting himself under Apollo, but covertly, he is letting us know that he is greater than Apollo. Can it be that he did the same with Christianity, seemingly worshiping Jesus while replacing Jesus with himself?
And that's what he did. And so hot. What this man did is, there's what, 5 seconds of this video, and well, let's listen.
Constantine, our investigation has revealed that Constantine merged the great pagan sun gods Mithras and Apollo and replaced their images with his own. Maybe that's not blasphemy by Christian standards, but it does tell us what Constantine thought of himself by depicting himself with rays of light coming out of his head.
It is blasphemy.
Constantine was telling the world that he was to be worshipped as a god. Now, where does that leave Christianity? Was Constantine willing to step aside and bow down to the king of the Jews as any Christian would?
No.
I don't think so. I think Constantine took Jesus and refashioned him in his own image, thereby turning the anti-Roman rebel we read about in the Gospels into a symbol of Roman imperialism.
To find evidence for this,
No, he and Apollo and Mithras is not blasphemy. We don't care about that.
All right.
But what this last little bit that he's about to share out is he does attempt to whitewash the truth of Christ and position himself as the end all be all.
Simca travels to the Archbishop's Chapel in Ravenna, Italy, where there's a 6th century mosaic that depicts Jesus in a whole new light.
That's a mosaic of Jesus dressed as a Roman soldier. Although if you look at it more carefully, you can see that he's actually a Roman emperor dressed for command. He's got the military equipment, and of course he has the cross over his shoulder. So you can kind of see that Christ is also taking on the role of being the Roman emperor emperor
He's depicted as the emperor.
as the emperor in a military role.
So Constantine didn't start running around dressed like Jesus.
Right.
He got Jesus to dress like him.
Right.
The irony is that after Constantine, Jesus, who had been crucified by the Roman army, was now depicted as its leader. But what was Constantine's goal? Was he trying to change Jesus? Or was he trying to replace him? To
Who said
answer
he was
this
stepping on
question,
the feathers?
A serpent, a
It looked like he
snake,
was on something else as well.
a lion.
That's what I thought. There's something to that with him stepping on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Could he have known about the tribe of Judah,
Absolutely.
where Christ was from?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Without a shadow of doubt.
okay, I see that. I just noticed that.
Simca now looks into the plot Constantine made for his own funeral.
Well, he was actually buried in Constantinople in the Church of the Holy Apostles, which no longer exists. It was reported that he was buried with the 12 apostles surrounding him.
So Constantine prepares his burial by creating a real coffin for himself,
Right.
and then these pretend coffins for the other disciples.
Right.
If you take Jesus' place, one way to interpret it is I am Jesus.
Well, you could see it that way. On earth, the Roman emperors do become the stand-in for Jesus, because now with the Christian Roman Empire, the emperor takes on the role as being the leader of the worldwide Christian community.
But by taking Jesus' place, did Constantine see himself as someone who could promote Jesus' message or subvert it? Can the arch also answer this question?
So notice it says, was he someone who is pushing the message of Christ or subverting?
Subverting.
And he gonna explain it.
From this high vantage point, Simca suddenly makes a discovery that would have never occurred to him below.
How you position something relative to something else, that's sacred geometry. He's essentially putting himself in a relationship with the Flavians.
Just on the other side of Constantine's arch is the famous Colosseum, built by the Emperor Vespasian Flavius. The cross on the left is a triumphal arch, built by the same emperor's son, Titus Flavius.
Now remember, Vespasian and Titus are responsible for the siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD that Christ warned about in Luke chapter 21.
And in the center, where there is now a circular depression in the grass, once stood a giant fountain built by Vespasian's other son, Domitian Flavius, one of the greatest persecutors of early Christianity. Why would Constantine want to associate himself so intimately with the Flavian dynasty? As it turns out, the first century Flavian emperors have gone down in history as the men who destroyed Jerusalem and the Holy Temple in it. They could literally boast.
That is siege of Jerusalem.
Constantine.
No, this is not Constantine. This is this is Titus, right?
Yeah.
But Constantine's archway is right in the same land area as these structures, and the guy that's hosting this video or whatever, he's pointing out how well, just listen.
Have gone down in history as the men who destroyed Jerusalem and the Holy Temple. Down in history. Turns out, the first century Flavian emperors have gone down in history.
Flavian emperors, meaning Vespasian, Titus, and Titus's brother, Domitian, that's the Flavian Empire. Emperors have gone down in history as the ones that demolished the Jews.
As the men who destroyed Jerusalem and the Holy Temple in it, they could literally boast that they had torched the house of God. Jesus wept for the destruction of the temple. In contrast, by positioning his arch in close proximity to the destroyers of the temple.
Right? Jesus wept, and that's, we read about that in Luke and so forth, as well as in Matthew 24. And so Constantine is subverting Christ. Constantine is turning himself into the deified Christ.
Mm.
But he's doing it not to push Christianity, but to subjugate it.
To subjugate it, but his primary goal was to self-worship.
Right. He's destroying Christianity. And here we are, 2021. Christianity is not the religion of the Jews. Is not the religion of the Jews. Is not the religion of Moses. It's not the religion of Paul and Peter.
Constantine was permanently linking his
Correct.
legacy with theirs. But if that wasn't enough, he celebrated the Flavian name as his own. He called himself Flavius Constantinus. Could it be that just as the Flavians boasted that they had defeated the God of Israel, Constantine schemed to defeat the religion that worshipped Jesus as God's son? But as we have seen, Constantine was going to do it not by oppressing Christianity, but by adopting it. Not by defeating it, but by defining it. He would out-Flavian the Flavians.
See that? He said he was going to defeat it by defining it. He's going to articulate what Christianity is.
He wouldn't fight people. He would fight their ideas. He would defeat Jesus by transforming him from a crucified Judean rebel into a Roman emperor.
For 1,500 years, people accepted the story that Constantine was a true Christian, that he had a vision of the cross, and that he converted a pagan Roman Empire to Christianity. But our investigation has revealed another story, one that isn't particularly Christian. We're not the first. Other investigators have noticed discrepancies in Constantine's character, but they concluded that maybe he wasn't religious. Maybe he was just pragmatic.
Okay. Now, go to Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 23. We're almost done now. We're gonna close out with these few scriptures here, and we're gonna be done.
17.
Jeremiah 13, 23.
Book of Jeremiah, chapter 13, verse 23. Can the Ethiopians change his skin?
Can the Ethiopian change his skin? Nope. Because Ethiopians are very dark complected. Read.
Or the leopard his spots?
Can the leopard change his spots? Nope.
Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil.
You that do evil, can you turn from doing evil to all of a sudden doing good? Nope. Can Constantine change his skin? Can he change his spots? Can he change from his accustomed to do evil to now do good? Nope. Go to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4.
Book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him.
His soul, which is lifted up, because he's a proud and arrogant man,
Yes.
is not right in him. Read.
But the just shall live by his faith.
But that's how we're going to live. We're going to live by faith. Go to Job chapter 40, verse 11.
Book of Job, chapter 40 and verse 11. Cast abroad the rage of thy wrath, and behold everyone that is proud, and abase him.
Read.
Look on everyone that is proud, and bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place.
And tread down the wicked in their place. Okay. Go back to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5.
Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people.
That says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. Go to Nahum chapter 1, verse 9. He transgresseth by wine.
Say Nahum
chapter 1, verse 9.
chapter 1 and verse 9. Nahum chapter 1 and verse 9. What do ye imagine against the Lord? He will make it an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. For while they be folding together as thorns, and while they are drunken as drunkards, they shall be devoured as stubble fully dry.
They shall be devoured as stubble fully dry. There's no moisture in these twigs. When there's no moisture in the twigs, how is the flame going to burn against that thing? It's going to burn it, burn it, burn it. Go to Jeremiah chapter 25, because Habakkuk also said that, but gathereth unto him all nations. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations. So go to Jeremiah chapter 25.
In verse 1.
Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 17.
Jeremiah chapter 25 and verse 17. Then took I the cup at the Lord's hand, and made all the nations to drink, unto whom the Lord had sent me, to wit, Jerusalem, and the cities of Judah, and the kings thereof, and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation, and astonishment, and hissing, and a curse, as it is this day.
Okay, so even Israel fell at the lies. Okay, especially the wicked among Israel. Read.
Pharaoh of Egypt is servants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his servants, and his prince, and all his people,
Mm-hmm.
and all the mingled people, and all the kings of the land of Uz,
Mm-hmm.
and all the kings of the land of the Philistines,
Mm-hmm.
and Ashkelon,
Uh-huh.
and Azah, and Ekron, and the remnant of Adash.
Ashdod.
Ashdod.
Uh-huh. These are all the ones that drank of the cup. Read.
Edom and Moab. And
Drink.
Sorry.
Drank of the cup. Read. Edom and Moab.
And the children of Ammon.
Read.
And all the kings of Tyrus.
Tyree. Uh-huh.
And all the kings of Zidon.
Uh-huh.
And the kings of the
Of the Isles.
Isles, which are beyond the sea.
Read.
Dedan,
Dedan.
and
Tema.
and Buz,
Mm-hmm.
and all that are in the utmost corners,
Mm-hmm.
and all the kings of
Arabia. Mm-hmm.
and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert,
Mm-hmm.
and all the kings of the Zimri,
Mm-hmm.
and all the kings of Elam,
Mm-hmm.
and all the kings of the Medes,
Mm-hmm. Read.
and all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the world, which are upon the face of the earth, and the king of Shishak shall drink after them.
Shall drink after them. Read.
Therefore thou shalt say unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, drink ye and be drunken, and spew and fall,
Mm.
and raise no more.
And rise no more.
And rise no more, because of the sword which I will send among you.
Read.
And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, then shall thou say unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, ye shall certainly drink.
Read.
For lo, I begin to bring evil on the city which which is called by my name. And should ye be utterly unpunished? That was a question.
Mm-hmm.
Ye shall not be unpunished, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith the Lord of hosts.
Mm-hmm. Right? So all these folks, God is going to punish them. God is going to punish them. Okay? Go to Zechariah chapter 2, verse 8 and 9. We almost done. We almost done. Zechariah
chapter 2, verse 8. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory had he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye.
So those that put their hands on Israel, God says, you have touched the apple of my eye. You went wrong when you put your hand on my son.
Mm.
You should not have put your hand on my boy.
Yeah.
Read.
9. For behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And ye shall know that the Lord of hosts had sent me.
There you go. Go to Isaiah chapter 47, verse 6. We almost done.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 40, and verse 6. The voice said,
Isaiah chapter 47, verse 6.
47. My apologies. The book of Isaiah, chapter 47, and verse 6. I was wroth with my people.
Okay.
I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand.
Okay.
Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke.
Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. He said, I was wroth with my people. So I allowed these things to happen, but woe to you that put your hand on my boy. I was mad with my son. I was mad at him. I was mad at my son. And then, oh my, you put your hand on him. I got to do you in now. Shouldn't have touched my son. You couldn't help yourself, though. Last one. Revelation chapter 18. Isaiah 47:6. And the last one. Revelation chapter 18, verse 20 through 24.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her.
God has avenged you on her. Read.
And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all.
This is future Babylon. This is not the historical ancient Babylon. This is the future Babylon.
And the voice of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee.
Read.
And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived.
By thy sorceries were all, and we just seen this documentary, this video on this dude's sorceries, because that is sorcery. You have deceived everyone.
Yes. I was just telling somebody a couple of days ago that I hate to break this down to you, but what you and brother so-and-so and y'all clique are doing is y'all giving it to sorcery.
Yep.
You know, that's just what I'm trying to say any names, but they know who they are.
Right.
I just told them this. And I brought up that's sorcery. The
sorcery, correct.
Yeah. And it is, we're talking about it again today.
Finish it on out. Verse 24.
We'll start at the top.
Yes, sir.
And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth.
And all that were slain upon the earth.
I never get to 24.
Okay. So we died in Babylon. And the Lord says, I'm going to destroy Babylon. And my prophets, my saints, will take care of y'all.
Babylon being here, America.
Correct. All right.
Wake up, Israel.
Wake up. To that concludes our evening Sabbath class. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless to all of you. And we pray that you got something edifying out of this lesson.